Welcome to Comics on Canes. It's Michael Yo. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate you. Want to give a big shout out to DraftKings real quick. Bet $5, get $300 in bonus bets if you win. Make sure you use my code YOBET. That's YOBET. And the man, the myth, the legend, Alex the Great is here. What's up, Alex Donno? How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, man. I'm excited we finally have a noon game. You know, I know if you're in Pacific time, that's gonna be a little early for you. But Mike, I've been so exhausted throughout the season because we've had all these night games, and I do post game like 4 hours after the game, so I've been staying up till 2 a.m. every Saturday.
Oh.
When I saw this as a noon game, I'm like, yes, let's go.
Let's talk about it, man. Miami traveling, like a lot of people say they're traveling out of the state of Florida for the first time. I personally don't think it's a big deal. It's a 2-3 hour flight. What's your take on that?
I mean, this whole narrative, and I see people pushing this out like, hey, this is the first time they're leaving the state of Florida. They act as if like they haven't gone past Boca or something. Like they played in Tallahassee. It's 500 miles away from Miami. There's a lot of like road trips you can take, Big Ten versus Big Ten, or SEC versus SEC, where you're going into another state and you're not going as far as Tallahassee is from Miami. So the not leaving the state of Florida thing, it's absurd. I mean, I will note it's only Miami's second road game of the year. So I guess that could be something, but in their first road game of the year, they were not affected by the travel or the environment. I mean, Doak got, pretty quiet once they started putting a beating on that team. So the whole travel thing is ridiculous. If Miami finds a way to lose this game, it's not going to be because they flew 2.5 hours to Dallas.
No, not at all. Not at all. If you're watching this is live, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up, leave a comment. I agree with you. I don't think the travel is a big deal, but let's talk about SMU staff. You had Rhett Lashley, who I love that if Mario ever left, Rhett Lashley would be my choice to be a Miami Hurricanes head coach. Did you hear the rumor now, since Matt Rule took his name out of the job, Mario Cristobal's name is being floated around for the Penn State job? Those are rumors. Those are alleged. I don't think he would ever leave Miami. What's your take?
No, I mean, Mario's already at his dream job. Like there's nothing like that is going to happen. And like, would you really want to leave? Like, you're a Miami guy who played at Miami. You're coaching at Miami. You want to go live in State College, PA? Really?
No.
Apparently, Matt Rule, who played at Penn State, doesn't want the Penn State job.
Go to Penn State.
I don't see why Mario would.
All right, but you got a lot of staff members at SMU. You got Rhett Lash, you got Derek King, who's the quarterback coach. You got, like, how many players do they have from Miami over there right now playing? I know they've had a bunch in the past, Rashard Smith and company, but do they have 2 or 3 players from Miami right now?
I think 2, technically 3, if you count Tyler Van Dyke, who doesn't play, but like they're like stashing him till like 2028 or something, because he's still got a year of eligibility left, and he's coming off an injury, so he's going to be there holding a clipboard somewhere. But Chris Johnson Jr., but I think he's going to be questionable at best for this game. Former Miami running back who he fits SMU's offense a lot better than he fits Miami. So it's like I'm happy for him. Obviously I don't want him to score any touchdowns this weekend if he plays, but like I think SMU's offense is a much better fit for CJ. So he's there. Romello Brinson, former Miami receiver, is there. So those are the ones I'm thinking of. And a lot of staff members. I think Reggie Bain, Ruben's brother, is also there.
That's right. Yeah.
And listen, I think and you mentioned, we got nothing but love for Rhett Lashley as Miami
100%.
And like, I think it goes to show just really what a likable guy Lashley is, that so many of the connections he made at other places like Miami, so many people want to play for him and work for him. And I don't mean that, and I'm not taking anything away from Miami, because obviously Miami, whenever Miami makes staff changes and roster changes, I believe they're upgrading, right?
Oh, 100%.
There's a reason why some of those people are at SMU now and not at Miami. But the fact that, Lashley made such a good impression on all these people that they want to play for him and work for him, I think it just goes to show he's a hell of a football coach.
Are you amazed? We're going to get to recruiting in a second. Just so people watching, this is live. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. This is the order we're going to go: recruiting. We're going to talk about the SMU game, and then we're going to do our prediction. But are you surprised? This is a random question. Are you surprised Damien Martinez is not on a football team?
Yeah,
in the pros?
very surprised. I mean, he did great last year, and he was part of an ensemble. Like, it wasn't as if, because when Martinez was at Oregon State before Miami, like, he was putting his body through a meat grinder. Like, he was their offense. Then he gets to Miami and he's splitting carries, you know, with Fletcher and everybody last year, and he still goes over 1,000 yards and like ran really hard. Like, you know, I hope he can find his way into or back into the league, because to me, Damien Martinez is way too good not to be playing on Sunday.
I know. I was shocked. I was shocked when I saw that, because to me, he's such a good back, a good power back that you would need on your team to just grind it out. But we'll see how that plays out. Let's talk about Miami and recruiting right now. I mean, they're on a roll. Milan Paris, 6'5", 205, runs a 4.5. That's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's laser time, too. That wasn't like some, you know, one of his coaches on the sidelines doing a friendly stopwatch. Like, that was a laser timed 4.5 for Milan Paris. And, like, listen, man, it sends a message. I know that, like, there are certain local receivers that are committed to other places in upstate New York that, you know, Miami fans are like, oh, are we going to get this guy? Are we still chasing this guy? You know, get the players who really want to be here. And, you know, Milan Paris is someone, you know, he was committed to Iowa State, which is like an okay program, but the reason why he was getting attention from the likes of Miami, Oregon, Oklahoma, we're also in the mix, we're really trying to get him, was he has shot up the boards his senior season. You know, Paris is someone, like, he was good. Like, I watched the junior and senior highlights for him, and like, there's obviously a difference with just the way he runs and the way he moves as a senior. He's really polished his game, but he was really good as a junior as well. But he's really shot up everybody's recruiting board as a senior, and this is a big time win for the Hurricanes. And you talked about the dimensions. Not only is he, you know, 6'5.5", 205 pounds, but, you know, he doesn't move like just a big receiver.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when you've got a high school receiver at that size, just guys that are going up for contested jump balls, that are just kind of using their size to bully people and stuff. No, Paris moves, the route running, the explosiveness for him, everything's on point. So I think this is a big, big pickup for the Hurricanes, Paris. And that was, Mike, the first one of the week, and we're not done yet.
No, we're not. Is that okay? Who's the next? We have Kashawn Stansel.
Yeah.
Kashawn Stansel, 6'3", 270 defensive tackle. That's the thing to me. You know how Miami always, every year, they pick like offensive line. We're going to do safeties and cornerback. This has to be the year for defensive tackles. It just does.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is a player that, you know, I don't exactly know why he initially gave his verbal commitment to Clemson. It might have just been a matter of, you know, he really wanted to believe like how good Miami's defensive line can be. Because I was like going back to June, like he made his official visit to Miami back in June. It was sometime shortly after that he committed to Clemson. But like he really, really liked Miami, and he's a big fan of Jason Taylor. He's a big fan of Damian Lewis. And, you know, the thing about Clemson, obviously this is great work. Like, Miami kept recruiting this young man for the past 4 months, which is not easy to do with a Clemson commit, because Dabo Swinney, once you verbal commit to Dabo, he throws out all sorts of ultimatums and threats, right? Like, there are certain Miami, I think, takes more of a hands-off approach. It's like, hey, like, if you commit to us, we want to make sure this is really where you want to be. So if you need to take another visit, okay, but as long as you come back home at the end, that when you commit to Dabo, he's like, all right, if you take another visit, we're dropping you. Like, you have to be all in. So Miami, I'm sure, had to work in quiet with Stansel. And then, you know, you see the trajectories of the two programs this year.
Yeah,
you know, Dabo's losing the plot a little bit, and you know that defensive line specifically. And Michael, you were ahead of the curve on this one, because you said it on record several times preseason. You thought Clemson was overrated, like severely
100%.
overrated, and the part of their team that was rated the highest was their defensive line, and they ain't been crap so far this year. Whereas Miami's defensive line has been one of the most dominant in the country. inside and outside. And Stancil can play a number of different spots. Like he's got the motor to play edge, and he's also got the size and the strength to play in the interior. So like he's looking forward to getting developed by both Jason Taylor and by Damian Lewis. And this was a big get for Miami, because like you said, you can never have too many talented defensive linemen. I mean, you look at what Miami's doing on the field this year. Getting a guy like Stancil for the future is massive.
So Blake Stewart, is he now back in play? Are we favored for him? Because I know he's kind of reopened everything. It came down to us in, what was the school? He was another one committed to Clemson, and now
Clemson,
Vanderbilt
is the other one. Yeah. And Blake Stewart's another one. So he, I don't remember exactly when it was, within the last week, I think he decommitted from Clemson. This is a three-star safety, but like three-star, I mean, programs are really high on this young man. Miami was really high on him. And so since he decommitted, so the trends for a little while, Michael, like that's why, so the tide is clearly turning over the last, 24, 48 hours or so, because I had really thought after he decommitted from Clemson that it was looking like it was trending towards Vanderbilt's direction.
Yep.
And to Vanderbilt's credit, I mean, they've been one of the great, success stories, Cinderella stories, the last couple seasons. They've gotten even better this year and all. So, like, I respect Vanderbilt, but, clearly Miami's still putting in the work there with Blake Stewart, because as of, this morning, Thursday morning, Steve Wiltfong puts in the Fong bomb prediction for Miami to flip Blake Stewart, which is something.
I saw that.
I mean, I guess it could happen at any time, and you never know. Like, ride the hot hand. Miami's already gotten 2 commits and 1 flip. Well, really kind of 2 flips, because Paris was a former Iowa State commit, so it wasn't like a direct flip, but it was a delayed flip. And then you got the direct flip with Stancil last night. Maybe you get another direct flip before the week is over with Blake Stewart.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Now, I want to take a couple of minutes before we get to SMU. Just some questions I have about the program. Look, we've all seen tape. It kind of went viral and I know, Donno, you're the nicest person on earth. I love you on Twitter, though. I love the evilness of Donno on Twitter. That's my favorite Donno right there. The Twitter Donno. I love it. I love it. What do you think about Ryan Rodriguez playing center? Do you think that's going to happen? Brockermeyer getting pushed in the backfield a lot. What's your take on that?
I mean, I think you keep all options open. And so this is something like you either need to, make an adjustment with Brockermeyer with the way he blocks, or you can make an adjustment with the scheme to hide it a little bit more, or you play a guy like Ryan Rodriguez, who's probably one of the best or one of the better backup centers in the entire country. So I don't know what exactly they're going to do, but clearly, like the film is out that there's something to exploit.
Yeah.
Because so what happened in the Stanford game when he was getting bullied a little bit was like Stanford ended up putting it. I guess they found the strongest guy in their locker room, the biggest, strongest guy, who wasn't even a 2 deep on their depth chart that they put out, and they're like, hey, we just basically want you to blow up the center on every play that you're in the game, and that's what he was doing. So and there was a little of that going on in the Louisville game as well. So I guess that's out there. And listen, I've seen Brockermeyer play at a really high level at times. So I'm hoping that either he can snap out of it and that there's an adjustment to be made, or the adjustment could be other players getting an opportunity, because I think Miami's got enough depth on their offensive line that they can have some answers in that depth chart if need be.
Well, I know Brockermeyer hasn't played well, but hey, I want every young man to do well in their job. And if they can figure it out, that's great.
Sure.
Maybe help them out, pinch instead of just, there's lots of different techniques they can do, but we will see on that. Dawson, his comments, people went nuts about him. I had a friend that played for Miami in 91, won a national championship. It goes, I like Dawson, but I lost all faith when I heard him say that. He sounded like Guidry last year when they couldn't stop the pass. When the defensive backs were missing tackles, and Dawson made that one comment, was like, well, we're winning. And that was his famous last words. Well, we're still winning. Where Dawson started quizzing the reporters. And it's this fine line, people like you, or like y'all have to be, because you could go back at Dawson, but you want to be respectful at the same time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So how do you take his comments?
It's awkward, you know, when the coach starts quizzing you on inside football stuff, because like there's no question he can talk circles around all of us when it comes to X's and O's. But in terms of like the comments, here's another thing that I think about. If he was going to adapt something in his approach, the last thing he's going to do is tell it to us on a Monday afternoon.
Exactly.
So it's like, it's like that's the one thing. It's like, I know, you know, not everybody, but a lot of people are like, oh, this guy, he's so arrogant, he's so stubborn and all that. It's like, well, I mean, if he did have a couple of extra things in his back pocket, like maybe a couple more jet sweeps to Malachi Toney, maybe a toss sweep or something, then the last thing he's going to do is put that on tape at a press conference. So I don't know. I guess we're going to find out how far the stubbornness goes, but also, you know, to what he was saying in terms of, you know, the running backs deciding which gap to hit based on the defense and on the blocking. There is something to that. And so
100%.
So it's not like I'm not going to completely dismiss the guy and claim that you or me know more about football and run scheme than Dawson does, because that would be ridiculous. And so I'm also wondering, because you did see, you know, Jordan Lyle, when he scored a touchdown in the second half against Stanford, bounce one to the outside, you know, Gerard Pringle and Chris Wheatley-Humphrey a little bit. So you have to wonder, you know, with the guys that we've had the biggest workload for this year are Mark Fletcher and Marty Brown, who are bruisers. They're power backs, they're bruisers, and a lot of times Fletcher is going to cut inside and seek that contact when he doesn't have to. That's the way he runs. So if the carries are going to increase here for Lyle, who seems to be finding his rhythm a little bit again, that was one of the things I was happiest about coming out of the Stanford game, because the previous couple games when Lyle was coming off of injury, it was just a little clunky when they were trying to put him into the game, was out of rhythm. He looked rusty. So I'm hoping that if we get more carries from Jordan Lyle, we're going to start to see more of the outside runs that everyone craves.
I think why Miami's run game looked better the second half against Stanford, I notice it looks clunky when they do one guy 4 carries, the next guy 4 carries, the next guy 4 carries. It looks way better when one guy is the dominant back and then you work the other 2 in. You know what I mean?
Agree.
It's more rhythm, you know, because it's hard to change up a back every 3 to 4 plays. So I like the way they
give a guy at least a full series. And
and I think we're going to continue seeing that. But I know Rhett Lashley, that defensive front, I mean, they're going to be a problem. Messidor, have you heard anything about Messidor yet? Any updates?
Well, here's something interesting. So I looked at who Miami has named their team captains for this week.
Yeah.
Akeem Messidor is one of the team captains. Like I figure that's probably a sign that he's playing. Otherwise, that's really bad communication to say.
Or he could just walk out there.
Yeah, I guess that's true as well. He could.
I doubt it.
That's true.
I doubt it, but he could just be a team captain where he walks the team out there. You know,
like Cristobal. I know. You know the injury stuff. You can't trust him.
No,
he's not the only one. You know, a lot of coaches keep their injury report very close to the vest. But he said after the game last Saturday that Messidor was really close to playing last week, and that he's going to play this week. Like that he's good to go this week. So I mean. The implication is there that Messidor is going to be back, and he's going to be obviously a lot more needed this week than he was last week. So if there was some strategy last week in not playing him to give him more opportunity to rest up the injury, then that's probably pretty good timing because, yeah, I mean, he's, you know, SMU, they've struggled at times this year. And they probably have a couple of offensive linemen out. Like Logan Parr is like questionable at best, and he's their best offensive lineman. He's either going to be doubtful or questionable, I think, when the injury report comes out. But yeah, Messidor, you're still going to need him to take that pressure off of Bain this week.
So let's talk about the SMU game. We got 10 more minutes in the podcast. We'll talk about the SMU game. SMU's defensive front is great at creating hurries. They're great at turnovers. They're great at interceptions. The defensive backfield is terrible. You know, they're garbage. They're ranked, I think, second from last in the NCAA, all of college football. They're ranked second to last. So what approach do you think Miami's going to take? Is this a Carson Beck? Is it going to be the Carson Beck show? I know they'll run.
Yeah.
But if you're coaches, you would look at the weaknesses of team and not be like, we're going to shove this ball down your throat when you're going to put 8 in a box.
I still think there's going to be a little bit of that, because it's a chess game, right? Even if like you run, and who knows, they may attack downfield right off the bat, because that's pretty much what they did against Florida State. Right?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
So it's been part of their strategy before, right? But even in a game like this, because Carson Beck, it's worth noting, he's elite in play action. Like he grades out elite in play action. Kind of pedestrian in other passing situations. So to set up the play action game, you're going to need to commit to the run. And that was even one of the things that Shannon Dawson said after the Louisville loss was, that they probably should have stuck with the run a little bit more. Not to say they abandoned it, but they could have committed a little bit more to it, because it is. I know fans get frustrated when you pick up a yard or you run to the line of scrimmage. Like, why didn't we throw it there? But it's part of trying to open up the passing games. You have to have a threat of a running game. But I mean, you're 1,000% right that the weakness of the SMU defense are their defensive backs. Now they play a lot of zone, so they have been able to produce interceptions, 12 interceptions on the year, but still they have been vulnerable. They give up almost 305 passing yards per game. They have been picked apart. And I don't know how you game plan for a guy like Malachi Toney, right? I mean, he is such a weapon. Right, they just have to tackle. Like if you miss one tackle, the guy's going to turn it into an extra 20 yards. He's going to be gone. C.J. Daniels has been good all season. I like the fact that Miami got a couple more receivers involved last week. We saw a lot of Tony Johnson. I want him to continue to be an option. Joshua Moore, even though JoJo Trader wasn't targeted, he did play 22 snaps last week.
That's interesting to me.
Yeah.
And I was going to bring that up too. He played 22 snaps. It's weird they wouldn't take a shot at him once. Weren't you surprised by that?
I mean, the thing is, I don't know who that's on. Like, I don't know if that's Carson Beck going through his progressions and just not, either not having that chemistry or just not looking at JoJo, or if that's Shannon Dawson's call. Like, I don't know. I don't know who that's on. But again, it's like you figure if the guy's getting 22 snaps last week, if that turns into something similar this week, maybe they do look in his direction. But if nothing else, like, it's encouraging that he's playing a little bit now, right? That because I know everyone's going to have their thoughts on, does this mean he's trying to preserve a red shirt and transfer? Or is he still in the doghouse? Like, he's getting on the field more now. So I hope that turns into success. And he had some good blocks on Saturday, which is important, but we want to see the catches.
Oh, I would love to see him catch the rock. I think Malachi, I think all the receivers are going to give him a problem this weekend. What is the most troublesome thing you see about this game? Is it Rhett Lashley's offensive play calling versus Miami because they're going to have to get the ball out fast. What worries you the most about this game?
Yeah, I mean, I talked with Grayson Singleton, who hosts Locked on SMU. We did a crossover episode, and he said Rhett Lashley, not only did SMU obviously play terribly to lose to Wake Forest and score 12 points, but he said Rhett called his worst game as a play caller. So you figure he's in line to bounce back this week. He's going to be extra motivated against Miami. I guess one thing that, could be something we look out for is how mobile is Kevin Jennings going to be, the SMU quarterback? Because he's been playing through, I think, an ankle that's been bothering him for most of the season. And, like, he keeps tweaking it. Like, he tweaked it again in the Wake Forest game, and he's going to play. Like, there's no question Jennings is going to start for them because he's still their best chance to win. But if he's not able to move, because when he's healthy, he's a dual threat guy who can really hurt you. When he can't move like that, is it going to be – Ruben Bain and Akeem Mezu are just controlling that backfield and living rent-free back there. So I think the Kevin Jennings question mark. The other thing about SMU is if they're more opportunistic this week, because, you mentioned it, they force a lot of turnovers this year, but they haven't taken advantage of the turnovers. So they had 5 takeaways against Wake Forest, and they turned those into 0 points. So, again, it's like, you feel like Miami's not going to be that lucky, right? That Miami's not going to be so fortunate that if they force 3, 4, 5 takeaways, that those won't turn into any point. Although against Louisville, they got a lot of turnovers. They didn't turn them into any points. So we've been down this road before, I guess.
Donno, have we ever given up points off a turnover this year yet? I don't think so.
That's a good question.
I don't think we have. People in the
Yeah.
comments, please help me out because this is a
Yeah.
live show. If you
Yeah.
know, but I think we have not given up points off a turnover. And if that is so, Heatherman, you are the
Yeah.
man.
I mean, he is. I made people don't understand when I'm being tongue in cheek, Michael, because I had a tweet this week. There was a certain defensive stat that I quote tweeted. I'm like, give Corey Heatherman a lifetime extension. And like a bunch of people are like, you never give out a lifetime extension. What if he is like Lance Guidry's? I'm like, hold on a second. I'm giving the man praise. I made a tongue in cheek comment. If they extended him, I wouldn't complain, but I don't think there is such a thing as a lifetime extension these days. And then, the other thing, like what would concern me about this game is what would concern me about any game. Not taking anything away from SMU because it's a good team, but Miami matches up well against them as we do against most any opponent on the schedule. I just need Miami not to beat Miami this week.
Yes.
And keep the turnovers down and keep the penalties down, please.
And what Dawson said, we should have stuck to the run. If they would have stuck to the run against Louisville, you wouldn't have had the interceptions, probably, possibly, right? Yeah. So that would have eliminated
a 3 yard in a cloud of dust is better than an INT.
Tell me about it. Tell me a 1 yard, no yards is better than an INT. How do you think Carson Beck plays this week?
I think this is going to be a good game for him, and I say that not only because of the defensive matchup, but he seems a little streaky to me. That's something that obviously I'm sure Georgia fans would have said the same thing. We've seen it a little bit this year. I thought the entire offense turned a corner in the second half of the Stanford game. I thought everyone, Beck included, were really playing tense. Like they were playing like a team that knows if we lose again, we're out of the college football playoff. And then I think there was a spark in that second half. I think Malachi Toney, his punt returns, I give him a lot of credit for that because they started playing loose. They started playing with confidence. So I think they called a very conservative game for Beck last week. Mm-hmm. It was mostly stuff that was either behind the sticks or just a few yards downfield. I think to help him get his mojo back, I think we're going to attack down the field more this week. And again, there's going to be some soft spots in that SMU secondary. So I think Beck is going to have a really good game. And even if he does throw one interception, I think Miami can overcome that if they're taking shots downfield and they hit some other shots. So I think this is going to be a good game for him, maybe a little bit more of the approach we had in the FSU game.
Yes, I was about to say, I think this is the FSU game, part 2, where I think Beck throws over 300 yards. I think they're going to load the box. They're going to crash the safeties. They're going to stop the run. They're going to stop the run because they know if they don't stop the run, then they don't have a shot. So I really feel that this is Beck throwing over 300 yards, running backs running for like 120, and there's your ball game. What's your final score?
Yeah, so I'm going to stick with – I'm going to try to be consistent because I put this on record already. I'm going to say 28-14 Miami. I'm going to say a 2-touchdown win. And the reason why I stop at 28 is like outside of the Stanford and the USF game, 28 is usually like kind of where we score. I think the defense, I think we're going to be up 28-7, and then maybe SMU gets like a late touchdown. So I think it's going to be a pretty comfortable win, but I'm going to go 2 touchdowns, 28-14, which I guess would be the under because that's a total of 42 points. I think the over-under is like around 50. So I guess take the under and take Miami to cover 11.5.
See, I'm gonna go more like 42-21 because I think they will score. But I see it like you, a 42-14 type of game, and then they score a late touchdown when we have our second and third starters in. I don't call them backups. We call them starters. Second and third future starters in. That's what we're calling them. But yeah, I see 42-21 because I would be surprised if they only scored twice. Maybe, you know what? I'm gonna go 42-17. 42-17.
I mean, they only scored 12 points against Wake Forest, so nothing.
Yeah, that
would
was a
shock
one-off,
me,
though.
You know,
that was a one-off, though.
I guess. Yeah, and it was on the road too. Yeah,
it was. You know what? Look, I played a couple games of college football. Nothing to Miami status. You know, it was for the University of Arkansas. But once you're on the field, I know fans like to think crowd noise and all that, and it does at certain times. But once you're on the field, literally you hear nothing. Once that hike goes, you hear nothing. You're zoned in. All right, Donno, how can people follow you? Give us your
Well,
socials.
Thank you, man. Michael, it's always a pleasure being here. Yeah, follow me at Alex Donno on X, where I try to be a little spicy on there when I can.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and follow me at Locked On Canes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, of course. Locked On Canes is where you find my daily content. We've done some extra content this week with all these recruiting wins. So who knows? Maybe we'll have another extra show coming up.
I just love when I hear Donno go, "Welcome to Donno." It's the best. You should make that a ringtone. I would put that on my phone. Welcome to Donno. All right, Donno, have a great day, man. I know you got to do another pod. We'll talk soon, brother.
Thanks so much. Go Canes.
Go Canes. Thanks.